Welcome to Cardano for Everyone, a podcast series from Pasta Steak Pool. Each episode explores something new about Cardano in a way that's simple and accessible for everyone. In the mood for some Cardano magic? Let's get started.
Okay, ready to dive into some seriously cool tech. We're talking midnight today. Cardano's foray into privacy-focused blockchain.
What's really fascinating about Midnight is it's baked right in. Like, think of those big upgrades Cardano went through, Shelly, Goguen, all that. Midnight's rollout is totally synced up with those. It's like it was always part of the plan.
So it's not just some side project, it's core to Cardano's whole evolution.
Imagine this. You can prove you have the right to do something, say spend tokens, but without revealing any personal info. That's Midnight in a nutshell.
So it's like proving you're old enough to buy a drink, but without showing ID.
Perfect analogy. It all comes down to these things called zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs. They're the engine behind all the privacy stuff.
ZKPs. I've heard the term, but I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on how they actually work.
Okay, so think of it this way. You can convince someone you know a secret without actually spilling the beans, the secret itself. It's like proving you solved a math problem, but you don't have to show them your work.
Okay, I kind of get that. But how does that apply to, like, actual transactions on Midnight?
So let's say you're sending DUST, that's Midnight's native token. Using ZKPs, you can prove you've got the DST to make the transaction happen, but nobody sees how much you're sending or even what your account balance is.
So the transaction is recorded on the blockchain, like always, but all those sensitive details stay hidden.
Exactly. It's like sending a sealed envelope. Everyone knows there's a message inside, but only the person it's addressed to can open it.
That's seriously cool. But are all ZKPs created equal?
Not exactly. Midnight uses a specific kind called ZK snarks, which are super efficient. They can handle a lot of complicated calculations without slowing everything down. It's like having a super speedy calculator that can verify transactions instantly. And that's key for a platform that's meant to handle tons of private transactions. You can prove you're old enough to buy something online without revealing your birth date, or prove you have enough money to make a purchase without showing your account balance. That's the power of zero-knowledge proofs. ZKPs, for short. This is a whole new level of privacy. Midnight uses these specific types of ZKPs called ZK snarks and ZK starks. They let you prove something's true without revealing the actual information behind it, all while being super secure and efficient.
Those ZKPs were seriously mind-blowing. It's like proving you aced a test without showing the answers, or getting into that VIP club without flashing your ID.
The statement being proven could be, I have enough funds for this transaction, or I'm authorized to access this data. And the ZKP proves it's true without revealing the balance or the specific authorization details.
That makes sense. But you also mentioned ZK snarks and ZK starks. Are those like different types of ZKPs?
You can think of them as specialized tools for different jobs. Both are non-interactive, meaning the proof is generated once and can be verified many times without any back and forth. So that makes them very efficient.
I see.
Zeek snarks are known for being super compact and fast to verify, but they require a trusted setup phase at the beginning, where a group generates some secret parameters.
So if those parameters were compromised, the whole system would be vulnerable.
ZK starks, on the other hand, don't need this trusted setup, so they're potentially more secure and transparent. They're also more scalable, which means they can handle larger computations. But the trade-off is that ZK Stark proofs are usually bigger.
So it's all about choosing the right tool for the job. Does Midnight use one or both?
Midnight actually uses both, taking advantage of their strengths depending on what needs to be proven. It's all about finding that balance between efficiency and security.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but give me a real-world example. How would these ZKPs actually be used in an application built on Midnight?
Okay, let's say there's a decentralized lending platform on Midnight. Typically, you'd need to share your entire credit history, bank statements. But with ZKPs, you could prove you meet the lender's requirements, like having a good credit score, without actually revealing your score or any other sensitive financial details.
So the lender is confident you're a good borrower, and you get to keep your financial life private. Win-win.
The same concept can be applied to so many situations. Imagine voting systems where you prove you voted without saying who you voted for. It's not just about a more private blockchain. It's about reshaping how we interact and share information in this digital age. It's about giving individuals more control over their data while still reaping the benefits of a connected society.
You hinted at even more cool stuff built into Midnight. Those privacy smart contracts and the DST token. What's the scoop?
Let's start with DST. It's the native token of the Midnight sidechain. Like with any blockchain, you need a way to incentivize people to keep things running smoothly and securely. That's where DST comes in. It's used for transaction fees, rewarding the people running those nodes, and even for governance.
What about those privacy smart contracts? Are they just regular smart contracts with an extra layer of privacy?
Think of them more like smart contracts with built-in privacy safeguards. Remember how we talked about balancing privacy with the need to comply with regulations? Privacy smart contracts can actually be programmed to enforce those rules. Imagine a healthcare app. The contract could be set up so that a user has to explicitly give consent before any of their medical data is shared.
Okay, starting to get the picture now. But you also mentioned DUST, Midnight's token. What's special about that?
DKT is built to work hand in hand with all this privacy stuff. Like, you can send DST to someone, not only is the amount hidden, but even your balance and who you're sending to can be kept secret.
Whoa, that's next level privacy. It's almost like a secret code only the right people can decipher.
And because Midnight is built on top of Cardano, it automatically inherits all those awesome security features Cardano has, including its extended UTXO model.
Extended UTXO sounds like a whole other rabbit hole we could go down.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, this model makes transactions on Cardano, and therefore Midnight, super hard to track. Each transaction uses unique inputs and outputs, so good luck following the money trail.
So it's like another layer of not just anonymity, but security built in.
It's all about keeping your financial activity safe from prying eyes. And on top of that, Midnight is super serious about user consent.
What do you mean by that?
Basically, every single action you take on Midnight, you got to give your okay first. Nobody can touch your funds, see your data, or do anything with a smart contract on your behalf unless you say so. It's like having a vault with multiple locks and you've got the keys to all of them.
Gotcha. So we've got these ZKPs hiding the transaction details, the extended UTXO making everything hard to track, and then this mandatory consent so you're always in control. Sounds like a pretty powerful privacy combo. But who's the brains behind all this?
That would be IOG, the team behind Cardano. They've got this global crew of brilliant minds who are all about building secure, scalable, and sustainable blockchain tech. And the fact that they're so into research and open source development, it's really commendable. They're not just building a blockchain, they're building a whole community around it.
But let's bring it back to Midnight. How does this all fit into Cardano's overall vision?
Midnight is a big piece of that puzzle. Cardano is all about empowering individuals, protecting privacy, and basically making finance more inclusive for everyone.
So it's not just about secret transactions. It's about creating a financial system that's fairer and more accessible.
It's giving people control over their own financial data so they can participate in the global economy without giving up their privacy.
Makes sense. So they're building this platform for privacy-focused apps, and Midnight is the foundation for that.
That's it. And it all starts with those magical ZKPs we were talking about.
Let's think about what this means in the real world. Like, what kind of applications could we see built on Midnight?
Possibilities are endless. Imagine proving you're good for a loan without showing all your financial history, or managing your medical records securely and sharing only what's necessary with your doctor. Even businesses could work together on sensitive projects without risking their secret data.
You're saying this could revolutionize finance, healthcare, even how companies work together.
This is about changing the whole game when it comes to data privacy and control, giving both individuals and organizations the tools to protect their info, but still be able to work together in a way that's transparent and accountable.
Before we jump into those real-world applications, I want to make sure I really get how these ZKPs actually work in practice. Can you give me a concrete example, like how they'd be used on Midnight?
Sure. Let's say you're applying for a loan on one of those decentralized lending platforms, but it's built on Midnight. You need to show you have enough collateral in your wallet, but you don't want to reveal the exact amount or what assets you've got.
You want the loan, but you also want to keep your financial info private. So how does ZKPs help with that?
Here's where ZK snarks come in. They let you prove to the lender that your assets are worth more than a certain amount, like meeting the loan requirement, but you don't have to show them exactly what's in your wallet.
So the lender can be sure you can pay them back, but they don't know your whole financial situation.
Exactly. Everybody wins. The lender's happy, and you get to keep your privacy. That's the power of these ZK snarks.
I can see how this tech could be huge for industries where trust and privacy are so important. Let's talk about how Midnight keeps things secure. This privacy can't come at the expense of, losing our money. We already talked about that extended UTXO model, but can we dig a little deeper into how that helps keep Midnight safe?
Of course. You see, the extended UTXO model, it's a whole different way of doing things compared to those account-based blockchains out there. In those account-based systems, every transaction is tied to a specific account, and the balance is public knowledge. That makes it easy for bad guys to target people who look rich, or to track transactions and try to figure out who's who.
Kind of like having your bank statement plastered on a billboard. Not exactly private.
But with the extended UTXO model, it's different. Transactions use these unspent transaction outputs, or UTXOs, which are like little tokens representing specific amounts of value.
So instead of having an account with a balance, you have a bunch of these UTXOs that represent your holdings.
Precisely. When you make a transaction, you're basically combining and splitting these UTXOs to create new ones that show the value transfer. The important thing is your actual account balance, it's never on display.
So it's like paying with cash. You hand over the exact amount, and nobody knows how much you've got left.
And because these UTXOs are always being created and destroyed with each transaction, it makes it practically impossible to follow the money on the blockchain. It's like leaving a fresh set of footprints with every step you take. Good luck tracking someone down that way.
Okay, I can really see how that extended UTXO thing adds a whole lot of privacy and security to the system. But we also talked about Midnight requiring users to give their consent for every action. How does that fit in with the whole security picture?
That's a core part of Midnight's design. Every single thing you do, you have to give your permission first. No moving your funds, accessing your data, or messing with smart contracts on your behalf unless you explicitly say, go for it.
So even if someone somehow got hold of your private keys, they couldn't just drain your wallet or make transactions without your say-so.
Nope. It's like a double lock system for every action on Midnight. Your private keys are one, and your explicit approval is the other.
Sounds like Midnight is serious about security, using this extended UTXO thing, then adding in the consent feature on top of that.
It's all about building a system where users are in control and their assets and data are safe.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think I'm starting to get a good grasp of how Midnight works. But how does this tie in with Cardano's overall plan? You mentioned those hard forks earlier. Can you explain how Midnight fits into the whole Cardano development thing?
Sure. Cardano's development follows this carefully laid out roadmap, with each hard fork bringing in new features and upgrades. So Cardano started with Byron, that was the launch phase. Then came Shelley, which made the network decentralized and added staking so users could help secure the network and earn rewards. Gauguin followed, bringing in smart contracts, which opened up a whole world of possibilities for building decentralized apps. Right now, we're in the Basho era, which is all about scaling and interoperability, making Cardano faster and more robust. And we've got Voltaire coming up, which is all about decentralized governance, where the community gets to have a say in the future of Cardano.
Wow, that's quite a journey. So where does Midnight fit into all that?
It's all carefully coordinated. The testnet for Midnight launched during Basho, so developers could start building and playing around with the privacy features. The mainnet launch is planned to line up with a future hard fork, maybe during Voltaire, which will bring Midnight's full potential to the whole Cardano ecosystem.
So it's not just building a cool feature, it's about making sure it fits perfectly with everything else and aligns with Cardano's goals.
It shows how much thought and planning IOG put into this and their long-term vision. They're building something solid, not just chasing the latest trends.
But I want to bring it back to the human element for a second. How do you see Midnight actually impacting people's lives, like in a real, tangible way?
Midnight is all about giving people more power, giving them control over their data and their digital identity in a world where privacy is becoming more and more important. We could have secure voting systems, supply chain tracking that protects everyone's data, even decentralized identity solutions that give people complete control over their digital footprint. And those are just a few ideas off the top of my head.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think we need to talk about something that's often a concern with blockchain regulations. How does Midnight handle that?
That's a great point, and it's something IOG has been very careful about. Privacy and regulations can sometimes seem like they're at odds with each other, but Midnight aims to strike a balance.
So it's not about creating some kind of lawless Wild West. It's about protecting privacy while still following the rules.
Midnight was designed with all those regulations in mind, things like GDPR, and it has features that allow for selective disclosure and audits when needed. So you can choose to share specific info with the right people, like regulators, but keep everything else private.
So it's about transparency when it's needed, but privacy when you want it.
It's about finding that sweet spot between protecting individual rights and making sure there's accountability within the systems we have in place.
So how's IOG planning to get people excited about Midnight and actually using it?
Well, IOG is really good at building communities, and they're applying that same approach to Midnight. They're doing a lot to attract developers, like creating a special programming language for Midnight called DOST.
So they're not just giving people the platform, they're giving them the tools to actually build on it.
And they're not stopping there. They've got tons of documentation, tutorials, and support to help developers learn the ropes quickly.
It sounds like they're really putting a lot of effort into making it easy for developers. But what about regular people? Those of us who aren't coding wizards.
And they're working on that too. They're building a dedicated Midnight wallet that's supposed to be super user-friendly, so anyone can manage their DUST, interact with smart contracts, and control their data.
So they're aiming for a design that even non-techies can use without pulling their hair out.
And they haven't forgotten about security either. The wallet will be built with the same high standards as Cardano, so users can be confident their assets are safe and sound.
Okay, so they're taking care of both developers and everyday users. But what about the bigger players, like businesses and institutions? How do they plan to get them interested in Midnight?
That's where their focus on regulatory compliance comes in. By designing Midnight to play by the rules, they're making it easier for businesses to use it without worrying about getting in trouble with regulators.
So they're trying to bridge that gap between the exciting world of blockchain and all those sometimes confusing regulations. But let's be real, there are a lot of blockchains out there. What makes Midnight special? What's their secret sauce?
One big thing is that Midnight is a sidechain to Cardano, which gives it several advantages. For one, it gets to tap into Cardano's security, scalability, and its already established developer community. Plus, Cardano's commitment to research and doing things by the book gives Midnight instant credibility.
Okay, so it's got the backing of a solid platform. But what about the privacy stuff? How does Midnight stack up against other privacy-focused blockchains like Monero or Zcash?
Those are great projects, no doubt. But Midnight has a few key differences. First off, it's designed to work with regulations, which, as we talked about, is a big deal for getting more people to use it. And another difference is that Midnight's approach to privacy is more nuanced. It's not about being completely anonymous, it's about giving users control over what they share and who they share it with.
So it's more about empowering people, not just hiding them in the shadows.
It's finding that middle ground between privacy and transparency.
Okay, that's good to know. Anything else we should be thinking about?
Another thing is that people could misuse the tech. Even though Midnight's designed for privacy, there's always a risk someone could use it for shady stuff.
I guess it's like any powerful tool, it could be used for good or bad.
IOG needs to be on top of this, working with regulators and law enforcement to make sure Midnight isn't being used for illegal things.
As Midnight becomes more popular, do you think it'll inspire other blockchains to start adding privacy features too? Or will Midnight stay unique in a world of transparent public blockchains? It's easy to geek out on the tech stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about people, right?
Honestly, I think it has the potential to be huge. Imagine having total control over your data, like down to the detail, choosing what to share and who gets to see it. No more of those crazy long consent forms, and no more companies hoarding our information. Right now, your medical records are all over the place, different doctors, hospitals, and a lot of them are using outdated systems. With Midnight, you could have your whole medical history in one place, secure and encrypted, right on the blockchain. And if you need to share your records, like with a new doctor, you can give them access to only what they need, just a few clicks, and it's done.
That's pretty amazing. Puts the patient back in control. But I can also see this being a tough sell for healthcare providers. Wouldn't they resist this kind of change?
There will definitely be some pushback, no doubt. But think about the benefits for them, too. Less paperwork, better security, and patients will trust them more. In the long run, I think the healthcare industry will see how much sense this makes.
Well, fingers crossed. So healthcare is one area. What other industries could Midnight shake up?
Take financial services, for example. Right now, if you want a loan, you got to hand over a ton of personal info, and who knows what they're doing with it. With Midnight, you could prove you're good for the loan without showing your whole financial history.
So it's like a credit score on steroids, but you control who sees it. That's pretty revolutionary.
And this could work for other things too, like insurance. You could share some of your data to get personalized quotes without giving up all your privacy. Supply chains are another area that could be transformed. Imagine tracking a product from the very beginning to the store shelf, making sure it was ethically sourced but without revealing any sensitive business information.
So you could track your coffee beans all the way back to the farm where they were grown, making sure it was sustainable, but the company's secret roasting techniques stay secret.
Mean you can have transparency and accountability without sacrificing confidentiality. It's about bringing back some balance, giving individuals and organizations more control over their information. Proving that you can have both privacy and compliance, which is a huge selling point for businesses who want to use blockchain but are hesitant about the legal stuff.
Sounds like they've got a solid plan. What makes Midnight stand out? What's their unique selling proposition?
One of the biggest things is that Midnight is a sidechain to Cardano. That gives it a lot of advantages, like access to Cardano's robust security, its ability to scale, and a really active developer community. Plus, Cardano's dedication to research and doing things the right way gives Midnight instant credibility. The IOG is taking a cautious approach, testing everything carefully and getting feedback from the community every step of the way.
We've really gone through it all, haven't we? The tech, the potential, but now it's time to bring it all together. So what does it all mean? Why should our listeners care about Midnight?
Okay, here's the thing. Midnight isn't just another blockchain, it's a potential game changer. It flips the script on this idea that blockchain has to be all about transparency and immutability. It shows that privacy can actually work within that framework.
It's like saying, hey, we can have security and transparency, but we can also choose to keep certain things private, like our finances, our health records, that sort of thing. So many possibilities. It's really about giving individuals and organizations more control over their data, creating a more fair and ethical digital world. It's about building a future where privacy is a right, not just something you hope for.
And I think a lot of people really connect with that idea. We're all more aware of how important data privacy is these days.
Definitely. But it's not just about empowering individuals. It's also about opening up new opportunities for innovation.
Think about the developers who can finally build privacy-focused apps that weren't possible before, and businesses that can use blockchain without worrying about exposing confidential information. Midnight has a rock-solid foundation. Cardano is a well-established blockchain with a proven track record. It's secure, scalable, and innovative. And second, IOG, the team behind it all, they're amazing. They really know their stuff, they've got a clear vision, and they're committed to building a sustainable ecosystem.
And they've built an awesome team of developers, researchers, and they're great at building community too.
Midnight is addressing a real need. People want privacy, and that demand is only growing. Midnight is perfectly positioned to meet that need.
We're seeing a real shift in how people think about their data. They're realizing it's valuable, and they're being more careful about who they share it with.
People are tired of being exploited, of having their privacy violated.
And companies are starting to understand that respecting privacy isn't just the right thing to do, it's also good for business.
It builds trust with customers, strengthens their brand, and can even create new opportunities.
So Midnight is riding this wave of cultural and technological change. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored how Midnight works, what it could be used for, the challenges it faces, and the vision behind it.
We've really gone deep into this world of zero-knowledge proofs and the potential of privacy-enhancing technology.
I'd like to leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on. Midnight represents something really important. It's a sign of hope in a world where privacy feels more and more fragile every day.
It reminds us that we have a choice. We can just accept the way things are, or we can fight for something better. A future where our data is respected and our digital lives are truly our own.
And Midnight is a call to action. It's an invitation to imagine a different kind of digital world, where privacy isn't a luxury, it's a fundamental right.
It's a chance to be part of something bigger, something that could make a real difference.
So what are you waiting for? Explore Midnight, challenge the status quo, and help build that future of privacy. And until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay ahead of the curve.
Thank you for being part of Cardano for Everyone. We hope you gained something valuable from today's episode. If you'd like to support our mission of making Cardano knowledge accessible for all, consider selecting Pasta from the pool list when you delegate. Every bit of support helps us bring more content to listeners like you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next episode.